Welcome. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to 21st Century Saints Live. Alana, do you want to hit us with today's date?
It
It's
is the
what?
19th of May, 2021.
It is 8 p.m. in the United Kingdom. Welcome wherever you are in the world. We are a new live streaming podcast series for uh, members are people affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in the UK and around the world. I am your host, Jane Christie. This is my co-host, Alana Wilson-Bryce.
Hey, hey.
Hey, and okay, this is going to be possibly the cringiest episode of all time. If anybody has been watching on watching like the build up to this online, I've been a bit nervous, right? So, Lana, you're going to help me,
Just a
right? You're
tad.
going to.
I'll do my best.
So, because we're talking about language tonight. We're talking about the stuff that we say and that we hear at church. And you know what? My goal is, so whenever you're watching something online, listening to something online, you have the warning that it's either not suitable for work or suitable for work, and you've got that NSFW. In our case, we're suitable for work, but we're going to try super hard this episode. The way that members of the church would talk about it is, does this meet with the 13th article of faith? So, Alana, are we going to meet with the 13th article of faith tonight?
Possibly not.
No! Like, honestly, we need to try so hard. So,
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try.
we
I don't
will,
even know if I can
honestly.
remember what the 13th article of faith even says.
See, like, Mormon challenge. Does anyone actually remember the whole thing? It's the one where, if anything is virtuous, lovely, praiseworthy, of good
Oh,
report,
yep.
we seek after these
Yep.
things, and that's so. Yeah, if it, I think we'll be good. But you know what? We're talking about some stuff that's a little bit, we're talking
Edgy.
about things that don't. Yeah, right, edgy. That's that's exactly it. We're talking about things that don't meet with the 13th article of faith. So we do have to talk about that edge. Okay. So what I wanted to kick off with is the reassurance that we're going to do our very best for this to meet with the 13th article of faith. But I wanted to share this this experience that I told Alana about a few weeks ago. So our newest addition to the family is 14 years old. And when they had come to live with us, we were going online, we were talking with the young women's classes, and there'd be like, a little bit of lesson first. And I remember at some point, my kid's face just was like, what is going on here? Just looked completely horrified. And I'm thinking, like, oh, it's like the teen being dramatic thing. They're just having fun. But as soon as we came off that call, they asked, okay, brace yourself. Keeping in mind, this is a young women's class. Why do you guys keep talking about the erotic priesthood? Guys, y'all are going to hear Alana laugh during this episode, and Alana has the best laugh ever. And seriously, because why would you brace your child to hear ironic? It's not a word that we're going to use a lot. You could possibly, mistake it with ironic, maybe. The thing is that I can see how she got from erotic to ironic, and that was the scary thing. And so it's made me kind of think a lot about the stuff that we're saying and how it's actually being heard. And I talk a lot about Charlie, how some of the stuff that he will tell us that we do. So my husband is a non-member, has never ever been a member, but he'll pick up on stuff that we say and do and be like, do you want to explain? Most of the time he doesn't even ask now. He's just like, okay, that's a weird quirky, that's a Mormon thing. And we don't even notice. So we're going to talk tonight about language, and the stuff that we're saying. Okay, Alana, are you ready to be educated? I have
Can
an
I just
education
throw
thing for you.
something in there, not related?
Please do.
My
Please
coffee's
do.
gone.
Everybody celebrate. So, actually, that is
Good
such an
medication.
important thing.
Oh, it is. It's so important because now I won't have to hide my camera when I'm having a coffee.
We've had so many people messaging and being like, "Is Alana okay?" Because she just seems so ill.
Yeah,
Like,
James.
I mean, it's awful.
Stand behind my back, forcing me to come on these podcasts while I'm ill.
And it's like, I'm doing this. But yeah, well, I hadn't even noticed that. So yeah, thank goodness for the rain and the lack of pollen.
It's also the medication from the doctor as well.
And the meds. Yeah.
Strong
God bless
stuff.
meds.
Yep. Anyway, back to language.
Ready for this. So you can tell me if this surprises you or not. This is the educational moment of the show. So we're talking about specifically us as Scots, being in Scotland. We have particular ways of speaking, as does everyone everywhere in the world. But I feel like some of the stuff that we say needs explained. But to give it a little bit of context, a couple of weeks ago in our national newspaper, there was a report which was published that made the front page. We'll link to it if you're interested, but the headline is Glaswegians are the sweariest. We are the sweariest region in the whole United Kingdom. And third is Edinburgh. Okay, they drop the swears, Scots. So we're right in the middle. We're broadcasting from. We're right in the middle of Glasgow and Edinburgh, but we are more probably affiliated. Well, we're in the Glasgow stake, so we're more affiliated though anyway culturally with Glasgow, and just a couple of towns over, a couple of villages over, they're more sort of affiliated with the Edinburgh side. So we've got quite a big language difference, just going accent difference too, just going between the two.
For sure.
But get ready for this. This is why we're the sweariest. Okay. I'm gonna tell you in
and
Edinburgh.
Guys, I'm hearing this with you. I have not heard this story before, so I'm bracing myself.
You're going to be so excited to hear this. Edinburgh, people of Edinburgh, you swear on average 58 words. And now how are they rating it? 58 words in 100.
Oh, in 100?
No, this is like if the now that makes no sense to me. However they're measuring this, we're going to. Do you know what? I'm probably going to research this
Okay.
a bit more intensely. Okay, I can see the flaws here in this. But anyway, the number that they've counted for Edinburgh is 58. Oh, they swear every 58 words. That's how it goes.
Oh, every 58 words.
Every 58 words is a swear.
Okay, do we need a drum roll for Glasgow?
Well, I wanted to ask, does that sound believable? Does that sound like that? Does that sound like a law or? 58 words.
It does sound like a lot, but I could believe it, yeah.
Yeah. So Liverpool, who are second in the nation, shout out to Liverpool Saints. You are 65. Every 65 words on average
so
is
what's that?
is
7 of a difference.
Yeah, it's a little bit more sweary. The number for Glasgow. Get ready.
Drum roll.
we're the most sweariest. Every 109. So, like, now, do you know what? I'm going to need to pull this headline up because the numbers are still not making sense to me, how I'm reading them out. But anyway, the point is, we are, according to this newspaper headline, we swear every
109.
Yeah, we swear every 109 words. The F word is the most common word.
I could believe that.
So you can totally believe that. But we are by far the sweariest nation, the sweariest city in the United Kingdom, with Edinburgh being, really high up in that top 10. So how would you say you have? I mean, how would you say you've been raised to sort of hear swearing? I mean, you've heard them all before, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously,
You know what the swears are.
It's not something obviously I was encouraged to do growing up.
Yeah.
But you hear it in school and you hear it just when you're out and about in pubs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's normal, I guess, to me.
It's really normal.
It's
So,
just a normal everyday thing.
and you hear them at school. You hear them. You go for your shopping. You hear them.
Yeah. I mean, even
Is it
on
something?
buses and public transport, I mean, I even hear it now. I mean, I don't know. Like, I was trying to think about this. I was thinking back to when I was younger. You thought you were cool. Even though I was in the church.
Yeah.
You wanted to keep in with the crowd because you were a very minority, and we did. In the phases I went through of not wanting to go to church things, you would be swearing just to keep in with all the kids, kind of thing. But I mean, even
Because
now,
everyone swears. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't ever remember swearing as young as what I hear some kids swearing now.
That's because you're getting old.
Even no.
Okay.
Like, no, I don't feel like. I mean, I heard like there was some kids, and honestly, they must have been about 8 or 9, maybe even 10. And
Yeah.
I don't know that I even remember swearing at that age. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but I just feel it's like all the time. And I think it is just trying to be that cool kid, keep it, look at me, I swear, But yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong. I just don't remember when I was that age hearing a lot of swearing and stuff like that. But I think it's just becoming more common now.
Yeah, I'm going to clarify because I apologise. How I explained the numbers was really bad. So let me just.
Because I was trying to make sense of it and I couldn't.
I know, because it ended like, okay. Glaswegians use 109 profanities in every 1,000 words.
Ooh.
Almost double their nearest cursing comrades, Liverpudlians on 65. Edinburgh was next at number 3 in the league. Apparently Sheffield have only got 35 in every 1,000.
How are they gauging that? Like, how do they figure that out? I would love to know that.
Oh, linguists study conversations, just
general.
I love linguistics. Love.
Excellent.
So I thought this was great, especially as we do have another UK podcaster who is using sort of swears. He's sneaking them in a sort of Mormon style too. Yeah. We have big swearers in this country. So we've got Billy Connolly, famous comedian, super swearer. Peter Capaldi, one of the Doctor Who's, really famous actor, big swearer. I mean, notable swearers. But I think you're right. We so I'm a convert, so I didn't hear the whole I didn't hear the whole what do you call it? Don't swear thing, because people just swore around us. But I wouldn't swear in front of people. And I think you're right. Like, I hear kids doing it now, and that's just what you do. That's really, really
Jane,
normal.
I'm not sure if it's your microphone or if it's your internet signal, but it's a bit crackly when you're speaking.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
Just in case it's the microphone.
We do have a little bit of an internet stability issue at the moment, so yeah. In that case, while I'm taking a quick look at that, Alana, could you maybe talk about for a little second, maybe like a little bit more about how acceptable is it for kids to be swearing and when you're out and about in Scotland?
Well, it's like I was saying. I think it is becoming more acceptable. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I always think, for kids to be out and swearing, maybe this is a wrong judgment of me, but I think, and by means, I'm not perfect at this, so don't think I am judging anyone for this. Like, I think they must be hearing it at home as well, as well as school and things like that. Because I guess, like for me, I don't remember swearing as young as what I hear some kids now. As I say, there were some kids, and they were, I reckon they were possibly Daisy's age. Maybe just a little bit older, and the language that was coming out their mouth was just horrendous, and I just was like, my goodness, like kids are just getting younger and younger.
And
for swearing.
you're right, and of course it's not just school, of course it's home, but it's also, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So can I just apologize if we do have any audio or visual issues? My internet is not behaving very well. We are addressing the issue, so thank you for your patience, audience. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about where swearing happens and things, but in order to give a little bit more context, let's dive a little bit into stuff that Scottish people say. So a lot of it does skirt around bad language, right? A lot of it does.
Yeah.
It's bad language adjacent, certainly, if it's not actually bad language. And so we're going to talk about stuff that's acceptable and not acceptable. So Alana, in fact, let's kick off with this phrase, okay? I'm going to start laughing already. Okay, so the phrase, if you were to call someone as an insult, heed the ball.
You're putting
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pronounce it. Well, you have a wee think about how you would explain what it is. I'm going to pronounce it in an RP accent. And then I'm going to pronounce it in a slower Scottish accent. And then we will talk about how we actually say it. So in the RP accent, trained actress here, received pronunciation, we would say head the ball. Head the ball, which in Scots converts to head the ball, which we shorten a little bit to heed.
Oh no, you
so heed is So heed is head. Exactly. That's yes. Calling it a head is for Sunday. Every other day of the week, it's a heed. And ball, we cut off the end of a lot of words. So heed the ball. If we were to call someone heed the ball, that would be what?
In my opinion, I would say it's just like, I don't know, like I think it's like just someone being an idiot or something like that. That's just, I don't know, you're a heed the ball.
Yes.
Like, you're being idiotic, or as we say in Scotland, a wee dafty. You're a wee dafty. I would just say it's been like, you're a heed the ball or whatever. I think it's just that's my interpretation of it anyway.
No, you're totally right. And I had called to clarify a couple of things, because sometimes you think something's okay to say and then it turns out that you've said something that's really not okay, and we do have slightly different regional interpretations. So I had called the expert of all things language in Scotland related, your dad, to clarify, who has served as a bishop. So let's just, I feel like he knows what he's talking about here, and we had clarified the phrase heed the ball. We can also, it's affectionate, right? So I mean, it's really cheeky if you were to call somebody there. See, we're going full Scottish. If we were to call someone heed the ball, the correct response would be haw you. It is an insult. Hey, you that's been really cheeky, but also it would draw a smile. So as we were saying yesterday, I could say to your dad, "Oh, heed the ball," and he did call me that before the end of the call. So yeah. So some of these are more okay than others.
And then I suppose going off of that, there is boheed as well.
Exactly. Which basically means your head's full of air, right? Bawhead. Okay, we'll do that in.
Well, I
we'll do that
actually
in
looked it
Alana.
up there, and on this article, it's also saying that it is usually heard after a bout of idiocy of some kind, though it also refers to a bald head, apparently, as well. Which I just
Oh,
learned.
I did not know that.
I did not know
see,
that
I would
either.
never.
No,
Yeah.
me neither.
Okay.
Me neither.
So, okay, in RP, we're going to say, so that one is ball head. And we would pronounce it as, so the polite Scots accent version is ball head. Yeah, so ball head. Ball head. And then it turns into bawhead.
Bawhead. Aye.
So we wouldn't say, now, do you know, I'm just going to leave this here. Viewers, make of it what you will, and I'm going to cringe a lot while I say it. Any insult that uses, or any body part that, if for any reason you have to say the word ball in a conversation, it's shortened to ball. Sorry, it's shortened to ball, right? So, and there's a lot of Scottish insults that start with the word ball. And we're just going to leave it right there. And so bawhead is, I don't know, like someone who's been hit in the head with the football a lot. Like that's it's that kind of that kind of insult. Alana, a Glasgow kiss.
A Glasgow kiss, as we say.
Glasgow kiss.
So basically, a Glasgow kiss, if we say if I say I'm going to give you a Glasgow kiss if you don't shut it, I would be saying that I'm going to stick the head in you, like headbutt you. Is that another Scottish term? Like stick the head? Is that something we say? Does everyone say that? I'm going to stick the head in you? I don't know. But that's basically what a Glasgow kiss is.
Yeah, you're right. And I love the sound effect. Does any other country have an actual term for headbutting someone? Is it a thing? Like we give it its own name? Okay.
You wonder who comes up with these things.
Do you know? Yeah. Well, and the thing is, these are core to these are identity. People know this stuff. Okay. This might be more your granny's stuff, Alana, but I was raised, in a sort of older generation home. So, do you know what your granny would have called the kitchen? In your home, you have the kitchen area. What it's actually called in a lot of Scottish homes still.
Oh, I do know this. But you've put me in the spot.
The RP version of it is scullery.
Scullery, that's it.
Scullery. And we still, it still gets called in a lot of homes. The kitchen is the scullery. And here's where it gets super confusing. The living room. Can you remember what the living room gets called?
Nah, I don't know that.
So it's because you're younger. So the living room gets called the kitchen.
No.
Seriously.
No.
It's a thing. Okay, the hall.
The lobby?
Can you remember what the hall gets called? The lobby. The lobby.
That was me being polite, yeah.
Okay, what I'm going to do is we are having a little bit of a sound issue here, so I do apologise to the audience if it's disruptive. We are working on all of these issues. We're getting more professional as we go, so thank you for your patience. Okay, so we had scullery, kitchen, lobby in a house. If you're going to have something quick to eat, and you're just going to put something on 2 slices of bread, you would call that, if you were to make Daisy, so we wouldn't call it a sandwich.
A piece?
A piece. Yes, piece.
I'm going to make a piece and jam.
A piece and jam.
I thought that was a trick question, yeah.
What I'm going to ask Alana, I know that you have another couple. If it's okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to relog back into the stream and I will be less than 10 seconds. So maybe you could do a little bit of a shout out to anyone who needs a shout out, or if you want to share another couple of phrases,
yeah.
I'll be right back with you in a moment.
See, I wasn't like you, I didn't write things down. So if you're still watching, because obviously I can't see you, give me a little message to say hi, and then I can give you a little shout out. Crazy terms for things. Oh, she's back.
And I'm back. Yeah. So do you want me to keep going, or did you get your next one?
No, I was just panicking and trying to find something. Do you know, the best of it is I told you loads earlier, and for some reason I
wrote them down.
I can't think of them now. Like, I'm so annoyed because I must have swiped shut because I had kept my Google bit open. Hi! Oh, there's Joseph Solomon on. Hello.
Hey.
And
okay.
yeah, so basically now I'm struggling to find
That's okay,
them.
because I wrote loads down because Alana, I'm not kidding, was a master of this earlier. Okay, so we're going to go through a few a little bit quicker, because honestly, we could be here all night. There's Scottish doesn't last all night. So one of the ones we talked about was, I'm going to start it off, bolt. Can you remember that one?
Bolt. Like
bolt ya rocket.
Bolt ya rocket. There you go. There you have it.
Okay. Bolt you rocket. And that means,
like, get lost, get away.
Yeah, if you call someone a rocket, they're being a bit crazy, and you're telling someone to. And that's an.
I was going to say, it's like just being kind of like, I bolt ya idiot kind of thing. Like, you know, it's again another term of endearment.
And we would say to each other, bolt, if like one of us, being funny. Okay, laldy.
Giving it laldy.
Giving it laldy.
I know, I'm just like, giving it laldy, and I'd be like, what did she just say?
Because we wouldn't say in Scots giving it laldy.
That's for sure.
Saying. So yeah, your pronunciation is everything. Giving it laldy means
like being really loud, like giving it. That's what I would take it to be. If you've got a different meaning, I'm fine with that.
We might say giving it some welly, so like you're putting a lot of effort in. So like if your kids are maybe singing and maybe having fun, and you could shout, "Yeah, laldy," that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to take you into a situation for a second here, Alana. We're going to do a dramatic reconstruction. Right. I am coming into a shop, and you are the shopkeeper, and I have a pocket full of change. And the correct thing that I would say if I was going to use this big pocket full of change to pay for what I need from this shop, the correct phrase, it's almost like a script. We say this. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just getting rid of all this smash. Right? All this smash is your change, right?
Yes.
To which the correct response from the shopkeeper is, "Oh, it's all right. We're always looking for change."
Yep.
And it's never deviates from that. And I just think that's another little adorable thing about us. Right, Alana, this is one that we use a lot. Did you? Yes. Converts into.
Did you? Aye.
I'm going to record that, and that's going to be my new ringtone.
Did you? Aye.
Did you? Yes. And it's super sarcastic, right?
Aye.
Like, you would say that in the context of someone is telling you that they did something and you are bursting their bubble, you're being really sarcastic, possibly suggesting that they may be overinflating their story, or either that or you don't care. It's
I tend to use
phrase.
it like that, like, did you? Aye, whatever.
Okay. Dinged.
Aye, you just dinged me.
Which I would never dinghy you. I would never dinghy you, Alana.
So dinging somebody is, I'm trying to say, I'm ready to say patching you, and I know that's another word that probably, like, yeah. So if someone's kind of ignoring you, like, you know, I could say, to you, "Are you dinging me, Jane?" Like if I'm talking to her and she's not really listening, I'm like, "Are you dinging me?" Like as if are you not listening, and sometimes it kind of means are you not listening on purpose, kind of thing. Like, yeah, that's what I would take that to be.
Okay, this one's probably going to need explaining. I'll do the RP version first. Mad with it.
Are you getting mad with it?
So someone's getting mad with it. What would that mean?
They're getting drunk.
Getting drunk.
Now, they're going out to get really drunk.
Possibly that. Now, to me, if someone was to say that, I would infer there may be drug use involved in that statement. So, but not necessarily, because we've spoken about. So one of the other phrases, going out on the randan. Going out on the randan.
Or as I would say it, are you going out in the randan tonight?
And so that means...
Well, I believe it actually has two meanings, because like if I say to someone, are you going out in the randan, it's like, are you going out to pick up a woman or a man, or but then I believe it can also just mean, you know, are you going out for a drink, are you going out to get drunk, kind of thing.
Yeah, and so when we were talking about this yesterday, I was horrified that you understand that as to mean you're going out looking for a date, and you know that you're looking for potentially a little bit more than a date.
Yep.
I was horrified. So because as far as I know, you're going out to party. You're going out for a drinking session is how it's traditionally meant. But I would say to you, are we going out on the randan this weekend? No, you're going out to play. You're going out to have fun. Okay, when you are out on the randan, getting mad with it, you may or may not be now. There isn't. I don't know if you could interpret this from the RP pronunciation. Okay, but swallow. We convert that into
a swally.
Isn't it so? Oh, language is just the best. Yes, you're going out for a swally, and that would mean alcohol. There's no two ways about that. Although we could say, again, I'll do the RP version. May I have a swallow of your of your fizzy drink? May I have a swallow of your fizzy drink?
So I would interpret that to be, can I have a swally of your ginger? A swally of your ginger. And we're not talking about the colour ginger, like for hair or anything like that.
Which is...
That is like your fizzy juice or pop soda, as they call it in America.
Your soda. Right. I was asking my friend, shout out to Tonya in Texas. I was asking Tonya about this, if this is something that if I share this, will this be really inappropriate? I feel I'm starting to blush already. Okay. There is a type of there's a type of weed that, now I can't even remember what it's actually called, but it's a kind of sticky weed.
Yeah, you also have to be careful of that, because if you say weed in this country,
Yeah, actually gardens. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably I think weed is universal for drugs. But
Yeah,
yeah,
quite possibly.
I say universal. It's English, language drugs. But so if you as a kid are out playing in the summer and you come back in with this weed stuck to your jumper,
what
yes. Would you say? Like
you've got a sticky willy on you.
You've been sticky willied. The weeds themselves are called sticky willies, and we just wouldn't call them anything different. If someone said,
that's what they're called.
Sticky weed on you, it just would be weird. So yeah, and so someone who has had them put on you, you would say to your friend, "Oh, you've been sticky willied," or you would chase people with them. Okay. Apparently they're called cleavers. Is the name from them. Had no idea. Okay, we want to circle back round to some insulting words, because in Scotland we insult our friends and our family, and so it's not confined to those who are actually deserved of insults. But okay, I'll do the RP again. Numpty. And that is pronounced as numpty.
Numpty.
You call someone a numpty.
Aye, sorry, I was like, I don't really know how to change that, because I guess it's just saying it in the accent. Numpty. Yeah, numpty.
Well, but that's a really good point. So because often it's in the delivery. When you're speaking Klingon, I'm saying because everybody knows how to speak Klingon, right? I'm a science fiction geek. I am so sorry, but it's true. You can literally say everything, anything, as long as you're being really angry when you say it. And so yeah, it's in the delivery, the accent. You have to sound like you mean it. Egypt. You're calling someone. Yeah, and that's not just Scotland, but we would use that a lot. What about tube?
Yeah, tube.
The word tube.
We say it more like tube.
Yeah, a tube. So we would call someone a tube, and that's just an affectionate. I think that's more affectionate than calling someone an idiot, I would say. Yeah. Okay, we're going to get a little bit more edgy. Okay. I get so embarrassed. And we've already mentioned that in Scotland the F word gets used a lot. And we're going to talk about what's acceptable in what situation and stuff like that. But if you were to take the F word and replace the F with a B, and I don't have it in me to say it, I can't do it, and but would you, Alana, find that in Scotland as an acceptable word to say if someone instead of the
I'm going to be open, raw, and honest here. Like, I have said it in my lifetime. I guess when you look at it, it's just really basically another way of saying the F word. So I guess it's not really acceptable, because you're just replacing like the F with a B to make it that. See, I was quite happily going to say it, but I don't know if you're okay with me saying it.
Like, because it's not swearing.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah, but I guess some people, like one of my oldest friends, like her mum used to say that, but it's just as bad, because you're just replacing it with a similar word, but just not actually saying the word. So she's seen it as just as bad, replacing words. So I mean, would I be happy with my 8-year-old saying it? Probably not.
And that is always going to be the test when you hear your 8-year-old kid saying it. I guess, but. Let's talk. Let's sidebar for a moment into let's talk about whether we swear. Let's not do the hypocrisy thing. And I volunteer, Alana. You go first. Do you swear, Alana? Don't be a hypocrite, Alana.
Yes,
tell us
you know me. I'm an honest open book. I see it like it is. Yes, I do. Well, I would only be lying to myself if I sit here and say that I don't. I mean, obviously, I try not to, but yeah, it slips out. Mainly if I'm kind of angry or someone's really annoyed me, or I'm not saying that excuses it, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. But that's just me personally,
right? Yeah, you didn't kill a guy.
No.
I really don't swear. Like, I really, really, really don't swear. But occasionally, it has happened, and
I thought you were going to say that you don't swear, and I was going to say, excuse me, that's lies. I was totally ready to call it out. I'm like, if I'm being honest, so are you.
No, because right, and I really, really dislike it.
Yeah, no, I know you.
Really embarrassed about it. However, yes, I have, and so yeah, like if there's hypocrisy, yeah, definitely. I have, I've been that person.
I personally feel like, obviously speaking as a church member, that if anyone says that they've never said a swear word, I would be completely shocked, because I don't know that I could believe that. It's like one of those moments, when you stub your toe. I don't know, is that a Scottish phrase? I don't know. Like when you bang your toe on something, or you stand on a plug and you're like, and all the words go through your head, but you maybe don't say them, Like, I think everyone can say they've done that. And you might not be saying it out loud, but you're still thinking it. And we're taught in the church, right, that if you're thinking it, it's just as bad. So,
and we're going to talk about that some, in a bit more detail. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would be very shocked if anyone could say they've never sworn in their lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just wanted to put it out there for context that this is what, like, I'm 100% like, just don't be swearing, you're better than that. You've got a whole language to express yourself, and, come on. I think a lot of the time it's like self-control, like, however, and this is why I'm sort of laughing, because a lot of times, like, if I feel like someone's upset my friend, those are the moments when so yeah, you're probably the person on earth who has heard me swear.
Yeah.
Like, my kids, nope. Like,
well, you see my reaction when you swear, right? I get quite shocked, because it's like something I'm used to. It's not something I'm used to hearing from you. So, like, if you do swear, I'm like, she's really, really mad here.
Even my husband. So, in fact, it was a sign that when I was really, really ill, that, and when I was really, really upset and had just, and I couldn't, I felt it very difficult to control my language. So yeah. So that is where we stand with that. So, and the reason why I bring up that point,
sorry, carry on.
No, you're fine. It's simply because of the F word we were talking about replacing it with the B, because I said that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And as soon as I said it, I was in the company of my kid and your kid, and they immediately were like, "What?" And I'm like, I didn't say the word. It was a totally different word. What are you talking? And I was mortified. I really didn't like that.
But I think that's something that, we can speak to a little bit. Like, so quite often Daisy will say flip. And then, like, kids in the school have gone and said to the teacher that Daisy's swearing, which she's not.
Oh,
but it's what you hear. Sometimes you think it's a swear word, but it's actually not. So I guess it's when you think of it that way. Is it appropriate to say if people think you're swearing? I mean, I guess for me, I'm kind of the opposite of you. Like, I don't like to hear someone, see when you hear someone who's constantly F this, F that, blah, 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 every other word is a swear word. Like, I don't like that. But, I don't really have an issue if someone's just thrown a little swear word here and there. Like, and I mean that, like, I don't like it constant. I mean, the difference is, like, do you really need to swear? Probably not. I mean, like, I wouldn't swear in front of my mum or my dad, I guess that's just a kind of respect thing, or possibly, one of my sisters and things. And obviously I do try not to swear in front of you, because I know you don't like it. But, it does happen. And I always apologise. I'm like, I'm so sorry. But, I guess it's not ideal, like, when you think about it. But I guess, as I say, it's not the worst thing in the world you could be doing.
Well, we're going to talk about what's worse than the F word actually, just shortly. But believe it or not, the word we're going to talk about just now, I think for Mormons, for people who go to the church, again, I just apologize if we have any sound or audio or visual issues. The internet is not behaving tonight at all. But yeah, we're going to talk for a moment about the C word. So Alana, do you have any thoughts on the appropriateness? Like how would you hear that being
I don't
said
like that
in
word.
Scotland?
Yeah. It's not a word I particularly like, to be honest. I've always kind of cringed at it when I hear it. Yeah.
But do you hear it in Scotland? You know, like
Yes.
if you're out, and when I say when you're out, like I don't even just mean like if you're socializing, like if you're just out, you know.
No, absolutely. I hear people using it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it's a word that's used very commonly.
Yeah. And so what the reason I'm mentioning this is because again, a lot of it is intent and culturally how you are it's how people communicate within certain groups who are used to communicating using bad language as part of that group. So it would be totally normal. So like, you know, for people who work maybe in a building site or something, there'll be a lot of swearing, you know, it's a bit less
Definitely, yeah.
filtered, right? And the shipyards and things like that. But the C word, no one would bat an eyelid, right? If you're in that context.
No.
And if you then take the C word and we can refer to people, it's gender neutral, okay? So you can refer to men and women by the C word, and we would add it onto an existing word. So like is that we could say any, like instead of saying any person, you could say any C. You know, so has any C seen my friend? You know, and that would be totally, no one would think anything of that, and literally could be like every second word. So that is still not the worst thing. That's still not the worst thing. Right, another couple of Scottish things. If someone, okay, I'll do the RP version. Redneck.
Redneck.
Redneck, but or a redneck.
We would say redneck, yeah.
Yeah. And in America that means something different too.
Yeah.
So how would you mean it if you
like embarrassed? Like you're a redneck, you're an embarrassment, like, or I'm taking a redneck, I'm embarrassed.
So you can have one or you can be one. You can be redneck, you can have a redneck. What about similarly beamer?
Oh, a beamer? Is that what you said there?
A beamer. Yeah.
I all I heard was beam, and I'm like, and then I was like, oh, maybe she means beamer. I'm taking a beamer.
Because it doesn't make sense if you hear it in an RP accent, but so that you know the rest of the world has half a chance of
I'm taking a beamer.
Yeah. Okay, how about this one? This is quite a.
You're putting me in the spot here, Jane. I'm like, I hope I know the answers to all these words.
Or you will know the answer for this because this has been the source of great entertainment for one of my kids. Okay. Sorry if anyone out there is eating. You might want to not at the moment, but we're going to talk about the words. RP accent again. Bulk. Bulk.
Bulk.
Bulk.
So I'm bulking.
So exactly, retching, and
yes.
Now that sound effect entertains my son so much. I have literally had to call and ask you, can you send me a recorded message with lots and lots of bulking noises? And he just laughs. He thinks it's hysterical. What about if you have the dry bulk?
So the dry heave, as I would say. Dry
Yeah, the
heave.
dry. So yeah, you're
Just a,
yeah.
nothing to come
So
up.
like I guess bulk and infers that something's potentially coming up, but dry bulk is just that heaving sound. So oh my goodness, that was that was pretty intense. What about the phrase "yeah dancer"?
Yeah, dancer. Brilliant. That's great. Fabulous. Whatever word you would use when you're just wanting to yes. Like if you win the lottery,
You
yeah, dancer.
you dancer.
It
Just
doesn't have the
doesn't
same
sound right.
effect. No.
Doesn't.
Yeah, dancer.
And I wonder if that's why. So in our stake, I mean, it's probably worldwide, but we love the Killers, right? Brandon Flowers and co. When Human comes on, and you know that moment where they're singing, "Are we human? Are we dancer?" I wonder if that's why we love it so much.
Are we
It just makes
human
me chuckle.
or are we dancer? Anyway.
That's the one. And anyway, so yeah, dancer. Yeah, we is a totally Scottish thing. Now, this is going to be educational again. This is our final word in this section before we go on to talk about something else. If you were to go to the shop and buy some groceries, what would you call that in Scotland?
Some shopping.
Okay. And if it was your gran who was asking you to go, I'll do the RP accent.
Messages.
Messages. Very good.
It
Well
just
done,
came to
you.
me.
It just,
I'm going to get my
see?
messages.
Your messages. Now get ready for this. This is going to, you're going to be fascinated. So apparently, calling them messages actually comes from the word mess, which can mean food provisions or place for eating food. So there you go. And apparently Greeks still use the word in restaurants. So there you go. Yeah, dancer. Okay. We're going to talk about Mormon terms.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Because this is the pain in my butt. This subject here. So first of all, the first Mormon term that we're going to talk about is the word itself, Mormon. Every time, for those who are not watching live, Alana has just sort of, what would they call that? Was like an Elvis sneer. That was like
It was like,
a little
because I knew it was coming. It was like, oh.
The word Mormon, we don't use the word Mormon unless we're reading the Book of Mormon.
I do. Oh no, I've just pulled the earphones out my ears there.
That was the angels of heaven pulling them out to
tell me right enough. You're going to hell.
We're not supposed to use the word Mormon. Shall we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
Absolutely. And we did say we're not hoping not to keep this too long tonight.
Oh.
I mean, obviously, like when it first came out, I'm going to be completely honest, I just shrugged it off and I was like, really? Like, how many years have we been calling ourselves Mormons? And it's never been an issue. I mean, they did the whole, and you were part of that, you know, as I'm a Mormon, you know, and so basically now, I mean, I can't remember exactly what was quoted, but you know, the new prophet's now saying that it's not okay to say Mormon anymore. I'm sure he referred to it as something to do with Satan. Yeah. And I find that problematic. I can't be okay with that because to me, he's basically calling out another prophet and what he did. So if we believe that prophets speak to God, we have to believe that him possibly, you know, I keep forgetting who was the prophet at the time that the Mormon thing, I am Mormon.
President Monson.
Monson, that's it. You know, I would like to think that was done through much prayer and inspiration and things like that, if that's what you choose to believe. So was he wrong? Did he just come up with that himself? And now suddenly we're being told, no, you can't use the word Mormon because it's not right. It's, you know, I don't know. I just find it a bit difficult. And obviously, you know, I also think they have to understand and respect the fact that, you know, I'm now 40 in a few weeks, a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, I don't know,
Woohoo.
3 weeks, who knows. But I've been in the church all my life, and obviously, although there's been times of inactivity and things, I've been saying that my whole life. So it's like second nature to me to be like, yeah, Mormons, or I'm a Mormon, or and no harm. Like when I say to someone, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they're like, who? What church is that? Because people know us as the Mormons.
Yeah, and there is an argument to be made for, I mean, I think we've always been asked to use the church name where possible. So we do get
Absolutely.
encouraged. If someone says, "Oh, are you Mormon?" then we would be encouraged to say, "Oh, yeah, well, you know what? We prefer to use the whole name," and then we have to take a breath and then say the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Um, I mean, for me, the main issue is, I guess, cultural, that when I use the word Mormon, I'm not just talking about members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yep.
I'm talking about many, many people that fall under that bracket, whether they're
Absolutely.
affiliated or not, or have different expressions of Mormonism.
Yep.
The academic study of the subject, or the historical study of the subject, where there's an intersection with Mormonism, and so many other things, that word itself does have to stay. But I use it, but I try to, I guess I just try to do what I'm being asked to do. For those who are wondering if Alana is okay, Alana, I love this, that we're living real lives, and we have from time to time unstable internet, and can ask for permission to go and do stuff, and I kind of like, we are raising kids while we are podcasting. We're doing it for the we're representing, so I love it. Hey Daisy, and it's so
She
unstable,
always
and
finds an
you pop in there,
excuse.
girl.
She always finds an excuse to come down. Now, I set an alarm on her phone to say, this is what time you come off your iPad and this is the time you go to sleep. But she always finds a reason to come down. A bit like me when I was younger.
You know what? Well, exactly, right? Exactly. So we don't use the word Mormon, but here's another thing that I had been thinking about earlier on. The actual name of the church. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints linguistically doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, at least. You know, so is Jesus saints, or is it, are we talking about how the church is just because
Jane, we're
I
really
just feel
losing
like
you, hun.
attention, and oh,
You're
seriously,
really
right?
breaking
Okay,
up,
I'm
yeah.
gonna try and log back out. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know. I'm gonna log back out and just try and
Yeah, we do apologise for Jane's internet. The provider was supposed to be out and fixed it, but it's not happened. So it is something. Well, they tell you they fixed it. Thing. I keep telling you, you need to
Again,
change.
sorry guys. Oh, honestly, and we thought we had it fixed. So yeah, I'm really sorry.
That's all good. These things happen.
So okay, so we spoke about the name of the church.
Yeah.
The next thing that really frustrates me, Alana, make them stop doing this. If you are from America and you have pioneer heritage, can you please stop saying you come from pioneer stock? Please. It just
It's not one that I'm aware
sounds...
of, to be fair.
You've not heard that, or do you know what? I guarantee you, now that I've told you that,
I'll hear it all the time
in a
now.
couple months' time, you're going to be like,
Yeah.
you know what? There's another one. When you listen, I think especially when you listen to podcasts and people are telling you their stories, they'll talk about how, come from pioneer stock, or I come from, stop it. It sounds gross, people. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so I have this one. When Charlie had come to state conference. It happened one time.
Sorry.
So again, Charlie's my non-member husband. And so for some weeks before, we were asking, the area presidency was asking us, can you really pray about who to invite? We really want you to invite your friends, your family. And we're asking you to really pray about this. And to my utter shock, there was the Saturday night session, and it was so good. It was so good. And we were reminded as we left, look, can you pray about this? And of course, I think a lot about my husband. I would like him to be at church with me. And so that Sunday morning, as I'm getting ready, and I was shocked. He's like, okay, I will go, but I'm wearing jeans. I will wear jeans too.
We're losing you a little bit again, Jane.
So, sweetheart. Okay, I am so sorry. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually change location. So I will tell you part 2 of this story in a moment when I get back. But Alana, if you could maybe just do a little bit of housekeeping while I just shift position then, okay? And I will be right back.
Housekeeping?
Yay!
So again, we can only apologise for Jane's signal. The funny thing is, we were chatting earlier. It seems to be okay when we're just chatting over, this, just the two of us. But when we go live, the signal seems to drop a little bit. I do keep telling her she has to change provider, because my provider I don't really have any issues with. So thank you again to everyone who's watching. We really do appreciate it. I guess it's a topic like we've got lots of various topics that we wanted to talk about, and obviously this was one of them. So we just decided to go with it.
So thank you so much, Alana. Can I just check? Can you hear me okay? Is my mic sound okay?
Much better.
Okay. So future episodes will be streamed from the kitchen. Thank you so much. Okay. So we were talking about Mormon language for a second, and so I wanted to share this story about how the area presidency had asked, could we, like for weeks in advance, could we pray about who to bring to state conference? And they were really preparing and really driving home this message. And on the Saturday night session, it was just so good. It was that good that when they reminded us at the end, would you remember, pray about someone to bring with you tomorrow morning? I thought, you know what, I'm going to try. I've asked my non-member husband to come to stuff loads of times, so I'm going to ask, because I would like him to come, because that was really good stuff last night. And so he said yes that Sunday morning, and I couldn't believe it. And he said that he would come, however he was going to wear jeans. And I'm like, well, you know what? If you're going to wear jeans, I will wear jeans. And so just to make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
It was so good that he was willing to do that, because I asked him to.
Absolutely.
And we got to state conference, and Alana, he had no idea what everyone was talking about. And now he's not stupid, right? But there are all of these sort of cultural things that we are so, because we all know the stories, we all have some familiarity with the scriptures. Absolutely. Even if we can't maybe remember where they are. So we had a state president at the time who was talking about that we don't want to be when it comes to the gathering of the wheat and the tares, we don't want to be the tares. And I'm looking around at Charlie thinking, I need to explain wheat and tares to my husband. When it got into sort of the family history language and things like that, and it got so bad, it got so intense that we had to leave. Like I can't put you through this anymore. And we sat for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry,
talking about, no, just for example, you know, I'm a church member, and if they were talking about Weeks and Tears, I would probably turn to you and go like, "What the heck are they talking about?" To be truthful,
right?
I probably would
And
be like, "What does that
yeah.
mean?" Like, I wouldn't really know.
And you know what? I think we forget that we need to explain and give more context.
I mean, I often think, and I don't mean this in a nasty way in any shape or form, like I even said it regarding the school, you know, when they were sending homework home for Daisy, because I'm like, you have to remember, I've been out of school since I was 16. I said they really need to, when they're sending homework home, they have to explain it. And I always say, for dummies. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I just mean in
No, but
simple
you're
terms,
right.
because things change. And I guess relating this to the church, you know, you have to remember that even people who are long life members, you know, like you always get annoyed at me for saying this, but I always say, you know, I don't know a lot of fancy words. I don't feel that I'm not saying that I'm not intelligent, but I wouldn't say I'm super intelligent. So sometimes I sit and, I mean, you know yourself, like sometimes I have to say to you, like, could you explain that to me? I don't understand that. Because, so I guess when we're doing talks, and especially at that moment when they've said for you to pray about someone who has to come, and you're asking a non-member, when they're asking people to give those talks, they have to tell them that you have to remember you're speaking to people as well who haven't a clue about the church or some of the terms they use. So if you're using things like that, you have to be prepared to explain it better. You know, there's someone in my family who I feel is, and there's other people within the ward who I know, you know, if they're giving talks at baptisms, and quite often at baptisms there's non-members and things, and if they use any words, they tend to explain it, which I've always really thought that is brilliant, because there's nothing worse if you're sitting there and going, what the heck does that even mean? What you know, they're not going to get from it what the church hopes non-members will get from it if they haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
And the reality is, I do this. You know what? We do it in every group that we chat with. So whether it is a slimming club, a school, you know, like some kind of geek group, if we're at Comic Con, we use all these little terms. If you use TikTok, you're going to use certain terms. If you use Twitter, you know, there's just things that you do that help identify you as understanding a certain group. So I get it. But like you say, when your focus is supposed to be missionary work, or your focus is supposed to be people who don't know and ideally want to be taught, you know, come on, can we put the work in? And I think it's a lack of preparation. I think it's people who maybe are writing out their talks and like, I want to generally talk about this, and they're filling in the blanks automatically in their head, and they'll fall back on these comfortable phrases. So the next one that Charlie called us out about was the word investigators. Now that word is no longer used, right? Or shouldn't be used anymore. They changed it to people being taught, or, you know, which is perfect. Actual referring to people as people is a win always. But yeah, investigators, and Charlie thought that was hysterically funny. Okay, how about this term? The natural man. When we refer to the natural man.
Like, it took me years to even fully, and I don't even know that I fully understand it, but it took me a long time to really know what that was even talking about. So how you expect someone to know who's not even a member of the church, who's just sitting there listening?
Well, even whenever we're not necessarily talking about being a member of the church and someone hearing that, even like, you know, I think about us as members of the church, we're constantly throwing this natural man under the bus, like that poor natural man. He's just not getting a break, is he? You're like, can we talk about the specifics of what it is you have the problem with? Because, you know, there's a lot of stuff. So the scripture about the natural man being an enemy to God. You know, we can also point out that, you know, the natural man, there's a lot of plus points there. You know, so let's be specific and not, I guess what I'm talking about is lazy phrases. And so often we'll fall back on these lazy phrases to just not really clarify what we're meaning. Choose the right. I couldn't possibly have any issue with that. No one could ever possibly have an issue with that phrase, right? Except choose the right as a sentence. can we say make right choices, or like because you've heard it so often in primary?
Yeah, like when you say that, it's like,
us.
well, I know what that means. Like, yeah, we choose the right, but I guess someone sit listening could like if we could go right, like you don't know what goes through people's heads. It's
The right. Well, like why, like calling choose right, choose it's in the song it works.
Do you know, I was totally ready to start singing that.
Song.
Choose the right way and be happy.
And when a choice is placed before you, the right is definitely the one you want to choose. So yeah, absolutely. But it becomes then this phrase that becomes a thing that we just say without thinking now. So yeah, this is why I tend to say, make good choices.
That's your phrase.
And that's now my comfortable phrase. Okay. Okay. The next phrase. Alana, you've heard me complaining about this. Come unto Christ. And it's going to encompass every single time we use a really old-fashioned word to convey a simple message. So because we are used to the language of the Book of Mormon and the language that we are formally encouraged to use in prayer, the formal language that we're encouraged to use in prayer, we turn on this prayer speak, or this holy speak, this sacred church speak. And so come unto Christ, like no one speaks like that. Do you want me to come to Christ? Or can't you just say that?
Turn to him,
yeah. Like when was the last time you used unto in a sentence, right? Like you're calling to your child, come unto me. Oh yeah. Well, we don't.
In the 21st century.
The 21st century saints, sis.
Right?
Right?
Not living in, I don't even know what century Jesus was in. I'm so bad, but it's like we don't use that language anymore. Like I've already told you, that's one of the things I struggle with, is why we're still using language from many, many years ago. I just don't get it.
Well, we're going to talk about that for a little second. So first of all, because our Book of Mormon it's never been through a process of updating into sort of more modern language. We've really decided not to do that. We prefer the King James version of scripture, even acknowledging that there is, when I say we prefer, I mean the royal we, like the church encourages is those are the standard works. However, Dieter Dorf uses different translations and things. I will just say that we could potentially come out of our own comfort zones and not stand in our own way and have a look at these newer translations of scriptures. I'm just putting out there. We also we will have some prayer episodes where we talk a little bit about barriers to prayer. But yeah, I got out of my own way a long while back, and I speak to God the way I feel like I would speak to the way I would speak to him if he stood in front of me and I didn't have to put on a prayer voice. I think even God would be like, why are you talking like that? Can't we just be straight with each other? But here is the thing. So we kicked off by talking about a lot of Scots phrases. And so when we're thinking about this formal language that the church feels like, our leaders feel like it's formal and it's respectful to use thee and thou. And we're saying, look, no one speaks like that anymore. But here is the thing. What about the word? What about the word that we would use for yes?
Aye.
Yeah, and that's a really old-fashioned word that, I mean, I don't think you would hear that in America and Europe, or maybe you would, but certainly here in the north of England, we use this really archaic word and we don't think twice about it. It's really normal. So now, what about the word that we read in the Book of Mormon a lot for you? The word ye. I think we overpronounce it in church because the reality is, if if anyone was listening to us having a little bit of fun with the language, when we are speaking in Scotland and often in the north of England, we're using the word ye to each other, but we don't overemphasize that last vowel. So I would say, what ye up to tonight?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really normal. So I guess, like, when I was looking at this, I can kind of see that, you wouldn't hear the word lass or lad, but we use lassie and laddie and don't think twice about it. Okay. Another couple of quick things. Brother and sister, we don't really call each other that anymore at church. We do if, like, you're calling on someone to give a prayer, but it's, we don't meet people in the street and tend to say brother or sister. I've tried to sort of bring that back a little bit, because it was one of the things I loved whenever I first came to church, was that we were all calling each other brother and sister. But we don't, like I say, we don't really do it so much. And then I kind of realized the other day, what will I call my little non-binary kids when they come to church? How will they be referred to if they are called on to say a prayer? And so, yeah, I think maybe that's something that we really need to give some thought to. Okay. Another thing I put in my list of things Mormons say: bad-mouthing other faiths. Ugh.
Yep, we're pretty good at that. Not saying me personally, I just mean, again, the church.
Our modern day leaders are brilliant at not doing that. We get set really good examples, I think, these days. I mean, historically, shudder, but today we get set fantastic examples of interfaith and that term holy envy, working with other faith groups and highlighting good things that, like, often we have heard, other faiths being spoken about in conference and things like that, but at a local level we can hear it a lot. Though I think some of the faiths that really, the Jewish faith, like, considering we share scripture together, we'll often talk about the Jewish faith as if we make assumptions about what their belief system is. Catholic faith.
That was the one that was. See, when I think about that again, growing up, I think, looking back, so I went to my friend's sister's communion and she didn't let me know what was happening. So I did find it a bit strange, the kneeling down, the standing up, all that, because I wasn't prepared for it. I did it because I was like, well, everyone else is doing it. But in my mind, like, and I feel now, thinking back on it, I think, again, a lot of this was conditioned into me, and I think it was kind of talked about. Like, so I went in with the attitude of, it's not the same feeling you get as when you get into your church, and it just didn't feel the same. But looking back, I think I don't know that I fully believe that, because these are people who believe in God the same as I do, and I should be able to have a nice experience there. And yeah, they do things a lot differently to we do, but I think because I went in with the attitude of having that in my mind, I wasn't able to fully experience, because it should still be a lovely and nice experience, but I think it was just, again, things that I've heard other people saying, and the way that we talk about the scriptures and the big polls and all, you know what I'm talking about. And so all this gets put into your head, and so you're not allowing yourself to go in and receive of what you could get from that church, because we should be able to go into other faiths and other churches and still have a lovely experience, because if it's really about God and a relationship with God, I should still be able to have a similar experience as what I have in my own church. But again, it's something we don't preach or talk about. So,
well, if you're drawn close to the divine, no matter where it is, you're going to have an experience. You're going to have a spiritual experience if that's the way the Spirit's reaching out to you. I think because visiting other faiths and worshipping with other faiths from time to time has been something that I've gained a lot from. I can understand if you're trying to sort of explain that it doesn't feel like your spiritual home. If you feel like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is where you want to be, and other things aren't kind of giving you that feeling, awesome. I get that. I guess what I feel more is when doctrinally we start bashing on other religions' ideas or theologies. So like, whenever so priests being unmarried,
Yep.
horrifies us. I remember a talk on, where the idea of rejecting the idea of the idea of purgatory within the Catholic faith, and
Could you
what was being
explain that,
explained.
please?
It's so basic. Do you know what? The end of the story is explaining it, I guess,
Okay,
because
okay.
like I'm listening to him and I'm thinking, well, first of all, this is just rude. Second of all, we hate when anybody bashes our religion and tells us what we believe. And unless you're an expert in that faith, you're really not the person to be having this talk. But mostly I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, what you're talking about right now is spirit prison. Like, whenever there's another phrase, we use the phrase spirit prison, and people are like, my husband laughed. He's like, what are you talking about? And so I guess I'm just saying that we have ideas that we get very comfortable with, and we can be a bit obnoxious about it sometimes, like the swearing thing. It's how you say it. Okay, final I feel like I'm being so mean about our faith, but I'm gonna do this next one, which is testimonies. Would you invite anyone to a testimony meeting?
Nope. That was an easy answer.
But testimony meetings, like, I had so many really powerful experiences in testimony meetings. I love the idea of testimony meetings. I love being at them.
There have been some really lovely ones, but I think people are slowly forgetting what a testimony meeting is supposed to be. I've noticed that over the last few years I've been back at church, that people are forgetting what testimony meetings should be.
Yeah, and we're getting quite judgy about how people bear their testimonies as well, which that makes me sad. So I'm doing what I hate and being a little bit judgy, but when we read in the Book of Mormon about how, this group of people would climb up the Rameumptom and make all of these faith statements of these certain I know statements. I know this, I know that, I know the next thing. And that's kind of what testimonies have turned into, a series of I know statements that we check off. So I guess, what I love is the real testimony, the testimony that came from the heart, which can be, if your testimony is those I know statements, awesome. But when we're just saying the thing we say as part of, so for so many people in this area, the thing we say is expletives, is swearing, is the F word, is the C word. For Mormons, sometimes the thing that we say, it's all coming from this lizard brain, from like from lower us. I know this, I know that. When there's actually no real. Oh, okay. I don't like how I sound. I feel like I'm being kind of judgy, but I guess what I'm missing real heartfelt testimony. I think I'm really missing that. The way it's supposed to be. Okay. Yeah. So there, you know what? I have a story that we may or may not share. I'm going to hold on to that, and you know what? It may be something that never ever gets shared because it's really embarrassing. Alana, we may think about sharing the story of the talk that was once given in our ward, the one that everyone talks about and still remembers as being potentially the funniest thing that's ever happened in our ward's history. And the poor sister who gave the talk, we love so dearly, and she's wonderful. it's very embarrassing. So we'll see. We maybe save that for another episode, but yeah. Okay, I want to quickly come on and tell y'all about this.
Sounded American there.
Because I'm going into American now. Yeah, because now I'm going to read from Joseph Smith. Yeah, so I need to put my Americanized thing on. Okay, he said, prayer does not consist of words altogether. True, faithful, earnest prayer consists more in the feeling that rises from the heart and from the inward desire of our spirits to supplicate the Lord in humility and faith. And so what I really like is, I guess that's kind of the point that I wanted to make in a more eloquent way, that that we're not just falling back on these comfortable words and phrases because we feel like we should. When it's true and earnest and it's from our heart, we can all feel it. So it brings me to the prayer voice. Whenever this is another one of Charlie's, this is like the final thing in this section before we talk about Mormon swears, and we'll be really quick when we talk about Mormon swears. Because I don't know if I can handle it. I really don't. But this final thing that I wanted to talk about was the prayer voice. And so let me again draw my acting skills to demonstrate. On the conference that Charlie came to, and he's been to another couple of things at church, he's asked, why are you all putting on that voice to pray? Do you not like God? And it goes like this. This is what the prayer voice sounds like. And I feel terrible because this is someone's prayer. This is how people approach Jesus, right? But it goes like, dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful this day, and it's like, you sound miserable, my dude. And Charlie thought it was so funny. He's like, well, don't you all want to be at church? Like, are you not, like, are you really unhappy to be here because you sound so miserable? And telling him that that's what reverence sounds like, I think, is me missing the point. So I wanted to just talk about the prayer voice. Do you do the prayer voice?
Do you know, it's funny because I don't really think I notice if I do a prayer voice.
I
don't think I've ever paid close enough attention. Like,
no,
me, like I don't very often pray in public. It's something like I'm sitting thinking before I get to church, please don't ask me as I walk through the door to say prayer and sacrament. Please don't. And it's one of those ones, like, even when I was in Young Women's, like, please don't ask me to say prayer. Like, I'm thinking, please don't. I mean, I did it when I was in Young Women's because there wasn't as many people, but it's just something I don't feel comfortable praying in public.
Yeah.
So, but I would like to think that I don't put on a prayer voice.
Well, I think we all do to a certain extent. But
but what I mean is, I don't think that I sound dull and dreary when I pray. I don't.
But also, it tends to be a more, like, I think I'll see more in Relief Society where the sisters will almost like sing their prayer, and it will almost sound it's similar but different, and it's still the prayer voice. And I don't know, I wonder. I feel like when I approach God, it would be really nice if it was me, not some version of me that I'm trying to present to God, like if it was actually me. Okay, we're going to let Alana settle down, but before we do, we're going to race through some Mormon swears. Okay, so Alana, goodness, and Alana's child is in the room, so you know what, hopefully there are headphones on, so Alana's child will not hear this stuff.
I'm trying to smile.
And it's all going to a little bit of real life. We're going to finish off in a second. Okay, but instead of the F words, I think this is universal. Mormons swearing instead of the F word, like we all say flip. That's I would say acceptable. We don't want to say it, like if we're having a rage where you might as well just say the F word, then it's not acceptable. It's all context, right? Fudge, is that I've heard it said it's not quite as common here.
It's not a word that I would use. I have heard people use it, but it's not one that I would technically use. That's something I would say. Flip would probably be my word. For flip's sake.
Yeah, flip's our word too. Freaking.
Freaking, yeah, I would say I've used that.
Yeah, I do freaking. Yeah, I do because I think it sounds a little bit, it sounds way less sweary. Okay, instead of the S word. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
shiz.
gonna Yeah, because it sounds nothing like the S word, and I don't think the S word where I'm replacing it. Do you?
No.
Okay, so if you're going to, right, so you don't, okay, and what, and we were having a talk about this, this specific word today, and how, so people,
Oh,
our church leaders in history have, been a little bit rough and ready. They have used words and phrases that would turn your hair turn. And I had shown Alana earlier today some quotes from Brigham Young. And your face was a picture. Now, these were quotes that were so bad we couldn't read them out on air. That's how bad they were. But most of it was involving the S word.
Yeah. I think I was like,
Your
like
jaw
shocked. Like I was like, really? This came from
But the
a
thing
prophet?
is,
Like,
yeah. But the thing is, it didn't just drop once. Like every time there was
Yeah.
a new thing, you
Yeah.
thought you had to, you were like, oh, okay, there it goes again. And the thing is, I think with that word, I think people just call it what it is. I think I see that in this area. I think people would not think of refining that word a little bit. So I wonder if that's what that was. So yeah, shiz is definitely. I don't think I'm replacing a word with shiz. I just think that's a cool word to use if I need to draw on it. Okay, I can't. This is so, guys. I'm so sorry. I can't even say this word. The C word, CRAP. Now, I use that in front of you sometimes. I think I've used it. Yeah, I used it in front of the kids. I feel really uncomfortable saying it on air. Yeah, see, you can say it. I can't say it.
What?
I don't know. I'm having a freak out about saying that word right now, which I knew was going to happen. I'm just, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're allowed to feel that if that's how you feel, but it's a word
that is how I feel.
I don't think anything of it, like saying, like, oh crap, like if I drop something, or like I wouldn't think twice of saying that.
And I think the reason for it is because I think of that as a replacement word for the S word.
Oh, really?
So, and yeah, I say it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't say it all the time. I would consider that an uncouth word. But like again, you pointed this out earlier on. If your kid comes in and your kid says that word, you're going to tell your kid not to say that word because it's not a nice word, right? So, okay. I can't say any of these words. Alana, help me.
Well, you should have given me them and I would have happily said them.
Right, you know what? Because they're not actually
Put them in the
offensive.
chat.
You know what I'm going to do?
I
I'm going to. Alana will say these because I'm too cowardly. Now, I want you to keep in mind, I have said all of these words. I've popped it in
our
the
next
screen
word
chat.
is one that I do use quite often, and it's bloody.
Because that's British, right? That's not a PG-13 word, and like what we call America. That's not a rated R word. But
Yeah.
we don't we've had conversations about that word this weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I think differently. I don't personally see that as a swear word. It's not something that I would be like, oh, why are you saying that? Like, oh, stop swearing. Like, I just wouldn't think that. Like, I mean, I've used it today, like what, like I would say, like, what the bloody hell are you doing? And
so
I wouldn't think anything of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so hell.
I wouldn't think anything of that. I guess other people. Now, would I say it in a church building? Probably not.
Right. Okay.
So I guess
does
when
this
you look
make
at
us
that
total
way,
hypocrites?
if it makes me a hypocrite, then so be it.
Okay. So next word.
Okay, so we've got damn.
Okay.
And do you find that problematic as well?
I'm finding that I can't say it tonight.
See, again, that's not a word that I would think.
Same.
is a swear word. Like, damn it. Like, no. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what
Similar
other
to
people
the first
think.
one. Okay. Let us know
Okay,
your
this
thoughts in the chat.
next one, I'm not really. I don't really think I use this, and I don't know what term you're insinuating that we would use it,
Okay.
but it's not one that
Like,
I would.
if you're going to say, okay, the sound effect that precedes it is,
Okay, nuggets.
Go.
I've
I
never
think I
really
can
heard
say
many
that.
people using that word.
Nuggets. No, that's my kids' new word because
Oh,
okay,
right,
so when you suddenly have to not come into a family that don't swear, you have to find replacement words.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one on that list.
Ass.
Now, I would
Ass.
happily call someone a pain in mine, but in fact, did I call you that today?
I don't know. Did you?
Like, I think I did.
Like,
I did. Oh, Alana.
Oh, you did in a message. Yes, you did. I mean, I guess the other way that I would use that, like, if someone's kind of being cheeky to me, like in a funny way, that I'm like, oh, kiss my ass. Like that's yeah. Well, you know me. I don't find these things problematic. I'm really sorry if anyone is offended or anyone finds that problematic. I apologise, but I'm just trying to help you understand that that's one way that I would see it, and that I don't find it. I don't find that. Again, these are, you know, I mean, it's a donkey, right? So kiss my donkey. Sorry, was that inappropriate? I apologise.
No,
But you know, an ass is a donkey. That's what I've been taught. But I know we are replacing it with the other word. But again, I just don't class it. I don't class it as a swear word.
So, okay, the worst, worse than the C word, worse than the F word, is when someone uses the Lord's name. That's the deal breaker. That's the you don't get to and I think for most Mormons it's probably similar. They would rather hear if they had to make a call. That's the no-go area.
And are you talking about the OMG or the JC one, or both?
Both, yeah. Probably if there had to be a level, it would be taking the Savior's name in vain.
See,
and we've
that's
heard
what I
the
was about
story.
to say. Like, I don't know why. I don't find the OMG when people say that. I don't know. Like, I don't find it offensive. But if I hear the word JC, like, it makes me cringe. I don't know why. What the difference would be there?
Well, we've heard the story of was it Spencer W. Kimball going to get his surgery, and the guy taking him down to surgery had said that, and he was like, please don't. That's my savior you're talking about, and how we love that story, and what a great example that is. That said, I don't judge people for saying it because they don't. Like that's my relationship, my business. But I think I feel more comfortable saying, hey, don't take the Lord's name, than I do saying, hey, don't use the F word. Okay. I want to quickly tell you this. Oh no, okay, there's a worse story. It is a worse story, Alana. This is really bad. Okay, and Alana knows this story. Right, I'm going to tell you the less bad story. First of all, we mentioned Brigham Young, a church leader who swears, but we also have this swearing apostle, J. Golden Kimball. He swore. He did a lot. But I don't think today they would be seen as incredibly offensive generically, but it's shocking for a church leader. So I'm going to tell you this one particular very quick story. This is a quote from the man himself. Joe Morris was the best man with oxen I ever saw. One time when we were hauling some of those tempo logs to the sawmill, he turned the whip over to me. There were 6 yoke. I had never tackled half so many. You can't learn younger. Go ahead, Joe said to me. So I took the whip and started in. The oxen, dumb as they were, knew a change had been made. Immediately they lagged, and some of them turned around to look at me. I fancied they were all laughing at my shrill voice. Joe stood by and laughed. He wouldn't help a bit. I spoke quite respectable for a time to those oxen, but what good did it do? Then I started to cuss. It was after the manifesto on swearing too, but I was mad and had to turn loose. I never did it again. That was the last time. And boy, did I cuss. Did I wax eloquent? I'm afraid I did. But did those oxen sit up and take notice? They sure did. Every one of them got down to business. You see, they were church oxen. And when you talked that language to them, they understood it. I was like, oh my goodness, you're actually glorifying swearing at these creatures. He says some really okay, I'm gonna slide this in. Supposedly this is the same guy. Supposedly one Saturday morning, J. Golden Kimball came down the street and knocked on President Grant's door. And when President Grant answered, he says, Heber, some son of a bee stole my lawnmower, and I just came down here to see if you had it. As he's telling that story, I'm like, whoa. Okay, right. I'm going to share my most awful story. I'm going to leave the church talk one for a moment, but okay. There is a word that is used in America that no one thinks anything of. That is, it's really normal. You even have a piece of fashion wear named after this. But in the United Kingdom, it's really, really, really offensive. Okay, it's really bad. And you would never say this, except keep in mind we come from Scotland, so you are going to you're going to hear it, and so we will use these terms as insults. You remember how we talked about the C word, how people would just kind of throw that around?
Yep.
Well, this is a word that we will insult anyone with, but you know, we would never use it, Alana. Okay. Can you remember, what the name of one of Joseph Smith's wives, the youngest one? Can you remember what her name was? I'm gonna write it in the chat because I can see that you're the only way I can see this.
Oh, I do. Of course I do.
Okay. Do you want to tell everyone what
So Fanny Alger. Is it Alger?
Okay.
Alger? I don't know how you pronounce that.
No one actually has clarity on that, but we can say Alger. So her first name is
Fanny.
We do not say that word in Scotland. We know it's a name. We know that people have had this name. We do not say it. Now, that said, we can, people out there who are not me, my kids,
will use it.
Will use it. If you call someone that, you would
stop being an
idiot. But yeah, the reason for why is because it is another name for the sacred part of a woman's body. Okay, so I'm just going to let that sink in for a little second. And while Alana mentioned way back at the start that our family had been invited to do one of the I'm a Mormon videos. And I just remember thinking, my husband, he's a wild card. Anything could happen here. He could say or do anything. And I was amazed. And I mean, there were one or two things where he sailed close to the edge. He invited the film crew in to if we were having a night for the young women, and the Relief Society president was there. And as the film crew had come in for the first time to meet us, he opened the door and said, "Hello, meet all my wives," so they were horrified. And yeah, the Relief Society president was just like, this is the kind of man my husband is. But he had behaved himself pretty much the whole weekend until. So we have a national drink in Scotland, fizzy drink, ginger, as we call it in Scotland. Iron Brew, shout out to Iron Brew. I don't mind product placement, in this show when it's Iron Brew.
And I don't like Iron Brew, just to say.
It's beyond belief, but
I used to, just not now.
Yeah, but this it's a thing in Scotland. Iron brews are a thing. And they had just recently they have a very edgy marketing campaign that's really quite inappropriate. Humorous, but you know, it just is again sailing close to the wind. And they present this advert where this new baby has been born, and the father bestows upon this child's the mother bestows upon this child the name, which I still can't. And they keep repeating this name as they're drinking Iron Brew, and you know, because it's funny, because it's a name for a lady part, right? So Jane is not amused, right? And so before the film crew left, they were having dinner with us on a Sunday. Charlie's behaved the whole time, and as I'm through in the kitchen, I can hear Charlie asking, have you had Iron Brew yet? You know, because there's this advert and it is so funny. And let me just tell you why it's, and you know, and so he starts to explain why it's really inappropriate to this film crew who are here to film us doing the I'm a Mormon campaign. And it was, you know, so like I just, it was potentially one of the most horrific moments of my life. And that's my husband. So thank you for that, Charlie. Shout out to you. Anyway, I feel like we've talked a lot about all of this stuff. Before we go, Alana, is it ladylike to swear? I'm just throwing that out there.
Again, I have to go back to the whole, you know, I don't know. I'm being careful again that I'm not being sexist or anything like that. But I guess, and how I've been raised and how the world is, like, I think it's more acceptable of a man to be cussing and swearing a lot, like, you know, like you say, especially in the building yard and things like that. Whereas it's not nice to hear it. I don't know. I can't explain why. Like, you can listen to a man swearing and it's not so bad, but when you hear a girl who's just constantly effing, being, you know, all the different words, like it doesn't sound nice. So
Sister
I don't know.
Elaine,
It's difficult. It's difficult.
Sister
But I guess
Elaine
a lot of people
Dalton,
would say it's not ladylike.
Yeah, Sister Elaine Dalton had been talking about this. This was quite a few years ago, around the Women's March time, and she talked about some of the language that she heard being used in the Women's March, and had, you know, been basically saying, look, you know, we're daughters of God, using that language, and it's, you know what, it's just not ladylike. And I guess I just, you know, I wanted to just jump in and, you know, maybe push back against that idea just a little bit, for the simple reason that although I can sit and cringe, and probably a lot of it is to do with, well, I try not to swear. It really is to do with that. But Sister Dalton was speaking about a group of women who were protesting the idea of violence against women, and were, you know, in the media certain terms were being presented, and when women used those terms in response, it was seen as unladylike. So it was fine for a man to have used the phrase grab them by the but when women used that phrase in response, it was seen as unladylike and unacceptable. And I just find that really interesting. So I guess I wanted to leave that there. Yeah, Mormon language is fascinating, is a minefield. Half the time, people don't know what we're talking about. Half the time, we're on autopilot, but also, oh, aren't we a quirky old bunch of people? It's a fun place to be, and we could talk about the subject forever. So thank you so much for being with us, audience. I know it's been a bit of a difficult night with the technology, so thank you for your patience. If you have any questions, comments, or you want to get in touch with us in the show, just please do send us a message. And don't forget to give us a like and a follow on whatever platform you're watching. It has been great to have you with us, and we'll see you next week. Have a great night.
Bye.